Welcome, channel members, to a arcane and nerdy exploration of Kiss audio, comparing sources from the box set with historic archival releases. Trying to figure out stuff about these box sets as they become available. And what's kind of neat to do is to do AI stem separations to see if things match up with what we thought they were, or whether we're learning something new from these box sets. And I always hope for the latter, because I love learning new stuff. I love being proven wrong. I like being corrected, clarified, because, again, information is power. And the more we know, and the more that's accurate, then we can really tell the story or understand the history a little bit more. And that's how I get off on music, so to each their own. Just think of the amount of fun I'm going to have when the rest of the Kiss Alive box set comes out and we get Wildwood and the other Davenport show. Then I think we're going to have fun trying to match up everything on Kiss Alive with what was actually recorded at any of the 5 shows. We're going to do the same with the game tracks that have circulated since about 2008, 2009, when they were released for Rock Band and other packages, and also the King Biscuit Flower Hour for what we have available. Obviously, 2 songs from there are supposed to be from Cleveland, but I guess we're going to find out. But for today, we're digging into Rock and Roll All Nite and the versions available on the 1975 reference reel versus the box set versus the 1988 Smashes, Thrashes, and Hits version. But back in 1988, for Smashes, Thrashes, and Hits, there was a release. They remixed a lot of stuff, so they went back to the master tracks and changed up drums, trying to modernize the sound, and fiddling with this and that. And one of the most noticeable tracks on which they did stuff, in quotes, is Rock and Roll All Nite. And one of the things that became noticeable was the bass track for that recording was different than the album version. At the time, obviously, the Larrabee demos hadn't yet leaked, so for many years it was just a mystery about what the source of that particular song in 1988 was. I don't think we have any reels or any paperwork that kind of relate to that era, because it's after Glickman marks were fired. And after that point, paperwork really does seem to dry up quite a bit. So, supposition is that this is not an exact science, what I'm going to be doing today. It's a little bit arcane and art, but the basic process around what I'm doing is AI stems. Throw a track into whatever flavor of AI stem separation software you use, and I have my favorite. The one that I use generally does a very good job with bass tracks, which is exactly what we want to be looking at today. So I put the 1988 Smashes remaster, or remix, remaster, or abomination, choose one of the 3 depending on your tastes, into that. Extracted drums, music, voice, and the bass. I've done the same for, I think we'll start out with the pristine 1975 Larrabee reference track. That is, of course, just the clear copy of the mixed down edit that was done in 1975 that I continuously moan about not being included on the box. Well, here it now has a purpose, and having the ability to listen to the pristine version of the bass track allows us to match up, or not match up, as is going to be the case, some of the bass. So if we go and look at the tracks here, I pulled them into Audacity. At the top, you've got the 1988 bass track, and below you have the 1975 edit bass track, and you can see where the edit comes in towards the end of it. Well, actually, you can't on this reduced screen capture, but suffice it to say, the version on Smashes runs to 2 3/4 minutes, and the original edit starts fading out at about 2:15 thereabouts. So the Smashes version has, the Smashes version is built from a much more complete track. So, all right, so I'm loading up the 1988 bass waveform and the reference reel from 1975 below, comparing them. Nearly identical. Going through the end, you can see where the reference reel version starts to fade out early. So clearly the 1988 version on top is from a more complete source. We'll do an audio comparison in a moment. Let's hit play. So we can hear pretty decent stem separation quality for the version. We're just listening to the main parts of the riff here. And I probably shouldn't say riff, I should say bass pattern. Alright, switching over to the demo. Continues on. Difference in audio is simply a matter of the separation. Play them together. Very much in sync. There is a slight difference in speed between the two, no doubt because of 1988 transfer versus 1975 tape speed and transfer after the fact. So just flipping a little bit between the two for continuity. Very much the same. So to my ears and to my eyes, looking at the waveforms, we've got two identical sources here. They do start going out of sync a little bit towards the end there, and as it continues, but I don't feel like calculating the magic number to completely align them in a grid. But for the purposes of this video, that one is confirmed to sound like Kiss Busters. Alright, sorry Mythbusters. Adam and Jamie are going to hunt me down and hit me with something. But there we are. That's the whole point of that little exercise, is just to show that 1988, with the version of the reference reel that circulated, even in really bad audio quality, and we've had that for quite a few years now, I was able to ascertain, get a decent enough extract from that horrendous version to do this the first time around, which is why I said, that clearly the 1988 rebuild of Rock and Roll All Nite was taken from the 1975 reference reel, or as we only thought at that point, the 1975 Larrabee demo. Now, with the release of the box set, things change, because we know that when they recorded Rock and Roll All Nite in the studio in 1975, there were quite a few takes done, and the reference reel was simply one of those. So for the next part, we're going to dig into 1975 as represented on the 2025 box set. So this will be, I think it's track 2 on disc 2, which is the new remix of that demo, versus the reference reel. Alright, continuing on with the investigation. For this track, we're pulling in the reference reel again up on top, and we're comparing it below with the disc 2 track 2 version, which is a new remix of the 1975 Larrabee session material. So what's going to immediately be obvious is that these are two completely different waveforms. There are structural differences between the two, in that there are clearly notes being played or being picked up by the AI stem separation that are not being played in both. So we're going to play them in a moment. Alright, so those are raw. Let me just normalize both of those tracks for better sonics. Plus, I'm going to loop just the first verse so that we can get a comparison between the two. Alright, both have been normalized. Let's go. Exactly what we heard a moment ago comparing the other two tracks. But clearly we're heading towards something that's missing on the new demo version. Alright, let's do the disc 2 version. Different pattern. mean, to me, that's got a totally different feel. It's in the same neighborhood, but it's different. And then crescendo missing. This is done with guitars, so whether it's muted out deliberately or something else is unknown. There's different tempos involved here as well for both of those versions. That's why there's so much deviation straight out of the bat. So what I'm going to try and do here is just to align part of the chorus. Yeah, we must do better than that. Alright, so this is guitars in the lower version. Let's align it up and try and do that a little bit more neatly. So on the left's the beginning of the chorus. Let that note ring, like that. And back into the verse. Now, the remix. Different pattern to me. And again, those pluck notes really missing. And then I'll just throw in the guitar track. And try and line it up. You can't see that off screen, unfortunately, so you'll hear it. Good enough for overall alignment. And now you're going to hear guitars. Very little bass left in at that point, so I don't know whether it's been muted out of the reel or it's a completely different performance. I think the tempo kind of suggests to me that it's a different performance, as do the different patterns. Again, they're in the same neighborhood, the same postcode, but to my ears, as a non-trained bassist, I mean, I had a bass once, but that's as close as I got to playing it. I was doing a little bit of Symphony for Destruction at the beginning, but that's all I know about bass, so chime in the comments with your thoughts of this analysis. This is very much off the cuff, so let's move on to the next comparison. Alright, so let's pull up a bit of the drum track here, because I'm a little bit befuddled. I've gone through the other versions of the demo on the reel, or on the box set, pardon me, and looking at the two alternates, track 5 and track 6, they are not it. They do not match. And then just looking at the last two, the instrumental and the bonus track, which were studio demo in the last case, don't match either. So let's see if the drum tracks match up. And this again is a reference reel versus the remix from the box set. Just a random section here to play. Nice little fill pattern from Peter. Clearly sonic differences again due to AI separation. Nice fill. Play them together. Ever slight phasing. Could have aligned that better, but they're the same. Yep. Alright, let's go and try and find another section of the song just to compare. Alright, digging back into the audio here, I've just moved the waveforms around to the beginning of the drum track. This is just the final comparison that I'm going to be doing as part of trying to match up the 1988 bass track with its original source. Well, we're not quite there. We have a match with one take from the 1975 reference reel, but so far that source is not on the box set. And yeah, maybe there were multiple bass tracks done, different patterns, not only that, but different takes. So let's just close this out with the drums. Do the drums match up at the beginning? I think I've aligned this slightly better than I did the first section that I played. Let's find out. I'm just going to set up a little clip section. Now mess things up. Now try and fix it. It is Monday. Alright, here we go. Getting everything on the screen. Now we'll just select the... Okay, let's play them both. Alright, top here is the remix, and the bottom is the reference reel. Let's just play this up. It's got a little bit of reverb on it. Whether it's very light cowbell or a click. Probably not a click. Probably a little bit of cowbell, who knows. Very tight. Same. Play them together. Boom. Those to my ears and to my eyes are identical drum tracks. So in terms of the bass, maybe there were multiple bass tracks available on a take. Who knows? Maybe Gene punched in another one and they've just selected an alternative for the full treatment. So it's 3/4 the same as the reference track and 1/4 something else. So that's really interesting. And yeah, I was told that no, it's not the same. And it certainly appears to be that way. So what do your ears tell you? Am I way off in my rationale in what I think the bass patterns sound like in terms of the differences? Or am I hearing it correctly? Bass players, you know, you can obviously figure out that pattern quite easily if you've ever played Rock and Roll All Night in any form and see, you know, whether it is different in how it feels when you try and replicate it. Like I said, I'm looking forward to doing this with a lot more material from the Alive box and across this and Dress to Kill. You know, I did already do Let Me Know just to compare Kobo with You Wanted the Best, and yes, 100% Kobo was used for that, same with Two Timer. So it's fun, it's entertainment. Hopefully you've had a little bit of entertainment or you've fallen asleep. Thanks for listening.